Hey folks, Pat here from DNS. This Madison area fishing report is current as of June 2nd. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, so we'll just dig right into it. Got a couple announcements here. The Yahara Fishing Club's Kids Fishing Day is tomorrow, June 3rd, at Warner Park Shelter, so basically right here in the backyard of the shop. That's 9 a.m. to noon down there. Kids under 14 get a free rod and reel, bait, and instruction from members. They also have free hot dogs and soda provided. You don't have to register for the event, so just show up. It's a really great event if you've got a young person that you think would like to get into fishing or at least try it out. You can, literally no commitment here. Just show up, and there's a bunch of great folks um, looking to get people started in fishing. So, great event, great group of folks. I can't say enough good things about the Yahara Fishing Club. So, happy to support this event and encourage everyone else to support the club there. If you're down near Stoughton and you got a kid that might be interested in joining entering the kids fishery they got down there, it's at Division Street Park in Stoughton. Stoughton Conservation Club, also a great organization, does a lot of great work in the area. Looks like this event is from 8 a.m. to 11:15, so or 11:30. So yeah, open to anybody 14 years and under, and check it out. So the one other event I wanted to mention was that the Aldo Leopold chapter of Trout Unlimited. So this is the chapter that covers Sauk, Dodge, and Columbia counties. Great organization doing great work out there. They're having their summer picnic on June 7th, so that's Wednesday at Haberman Park in Lodi. That's right there by the swimming pool. Spring Creek runs right by there. It starts at 6 p.m., but you can show up earlier to check out the fantastic bucket raffle items. You can see some of them here. They're also going to have Nate Nye, who's the fish biologist for that area, talk about kind of the status of trout in the area. So yeah, it's a great event. Great, they got food and support a great organization. So get over there if you're free Wednesday night and support these folks and the great work they do. Um, as far as shop news goes, we have Thunderbugs. I had a post about that this week. What a thunderbug is, I get a lot of questions about this. A thunderbug is a dragonfly nymph. It's very similar to a hellgrammite. I only say hellgrammite because that's what people in the fishing world call them, but hellgrammites that you use for fishing are actually dragonfly nymphs. So it's just a slightly different species of dragonfly, but these have been doing pretty well for folks. I've heard some great reports and guys coming back and picking up more. So yeah, thunderbugs are kind of a great alternative to the hellgrammite situation, which has not been great. Last year we couldn't find any, and the year before that it was slim pickings. So these seem to be working out well for people. So we got them for $2.45 a dozen here at the shop. Let's get into the report itself. Been pretty hot and dry this last week. Looks like a warm weekend. Gonna be hot today and through the weekend. Looks like a bit of a cool down next week. I saw highs, not even cracking 80. So some great weather ahead, but still looks pretty dry. I think we could use some rain here, kind of flush out the system, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The buoy on Mendota read 72 degrees this morning, which is more than 10 degrees warmer than it was last week at this time. I heard 75 degrees down on Waubesa a couple days ago. So the area water is warming up pretty quickly. And of course, you'll find warmer water than that in shallow bays and protected areas. Generally, as far as fishing goes around the chain, blue-green algae's been much less of a problem this week, but really that depends on who you ask. According to the Dane County Public Health website with the beach conditions, it looks like a lot of your beaches are open. A few are closed, but last week it was almost all of them closed because of bad water quality. But I do hear from a lot of folks out fishing that, here or there, depending on where they are, the water can be pretty gross. So that blue-green algae and floating vegetation has also been kind of a problem around town, depending on where you are and depending on which way the wind is coming in. But for the most part, fishing for species it is still pretty much a shallow water game. Bass are done spawning across the chain, but still hanging out and have their post-spawn feed bag on. I got my first report of Mendota gills on beds the other day, but they're probably finishing up down on Kegonsa as they've been on beds down there for a couple weeks now. So if you are fishing gills on beds, I'd really like to encourage everyone to practice catch and release, because those fish guarding the beds are older fish, and they're the ones you want to keep in the gene pool. so that they can do their thing and keep the fantastic fishery we have here in the area. But it is very fun to catch them, so I just encourage catch and release there. Um, Been getting reports of panfish in most shallow areas around town. Bass action remains good with that post-spawn bite happening right now. Catfish action here on the north side continues to be great, and walleye are still being found in good numbers, slightly deeper near a lot of them near breaks. Both the Wisconsin and Rock rivers are running low with the dry conditions we've had lately. Up here on Cherokee, it's pretty much a weedy mess and is going to be like that till, geez, probably ice fishing really. But I have heard about some decent topwater action up there. Folks at the 113 bridge are, I haven't heard much outside of catfish anymore. Occasional crappie, white bass, bonus walleye that might be cruising through there, but it's mostly a catfish game up there, and folks are still getting some good numbers of cats and size, both there and in the North Bay of Lake Mendota. Out on Mendota itself, shallow water panfish has been good. The fish just started moving. Bluegills just started moving up onto beds. Perch have been hard to find, but once the weeds come up more, they'll start to congregate in pockets and weed edges. If you're into rock bass, I've been hearing about a lot of them around. So, some people say they're delicious. I've never tried it myself, but depending on where you are on the lake, I've heard about a few bass lingering on beds, but most are done now. Bass are hanging out shallow though, and chasing after those bluegills, harassing them, and getting bulked back up after a long spawn here. Walleye are still hitting good, but have moved out a little deeper. Look for those fish in 15 to 20 feet of water near breaks, but can be found shallower on cloudy days. I've been hearing about some white bass picking up here in Warner Bay and other spots around the lake. That action should start to pick up here in the next couple weeks. Tenny Park's been fishing really well lately. Been hearing about bass, bluegill, walleye, both above and below the locks down here. So also some good action along the university shoreline. And yeah, like I said, a lot of your inlets, shallow inlets and stuff are holding good panfish these days. Heard about some good action over here to the where the Yahara dumps in. Otherwise, Monona's been kind of a weedy green mess from a lot of what I've heard. All right, so yeah, Monona's been kind of a mess between blue-green algae, filamentous algae, floating weeds. Had a lot of folks complaining about just not even being able to fish in a lot of spots. That being said, I have heard about some good fish coming out of Weechawak Bay, formerly known as Squaw Bay, Turville Bay as well, and off the wall's been good. Getting some bluegills out there. I haven't heard much out of the crappie folks over there lately. Over here on Monona Bay, I was hearing about gills moving up on beds and folks getting some bass in there, but just recently it sounds like the weeds have just exploded over there. Kurt Phillip, who many of you I'm sure know, sent me this picture when he was driving past Monona Bay, and I mean it looks like you could walk across it there. The weeds are so thick, so I don't know if they need to get the weed cutters in there or what the schedule's like on that, but yeah, it's kind of a mess on Monona right now. But Winger, I haven't heard much out of other than small panfish, some nice bass in there, and a few muskies from some of the muskie guys. Haven't heard much for muskies out on Monona yet, but June is usually a month when once this water's warming up like it is, that muskie action should improve quite a bit. Still getting fish down here to Upper Mud and near the dredge hole there. But again, weeds and green water seem to be plaguing both Monona and Waubesa lately. Down on Waubesa, gills have been up on beds for more than a week and active. So both in the Lake Farm area and down in the South Bay. Babcock launch over here is still, as I understand, being worked on by the county. So it sounds like they're taking up one or two of the piers when they're doing their work with the dredging and stuff. So I just encourage people to be patient if they're in there trying to launch at Babcock. Otherwise, down on Kegonsa, I've heard about some fish up near Fish Camp. Bluegills have been on beds up there for 2 weeks. They're actually probably finishing up about now. So they'll be in a nice post-spawn mood. Been hearing about some bass and a few walleye over here by the state park. Down to Koshkonong and the Rock River. I'll be honest, I haven't heard much out of Kosh this week. I imagine they're still getting fish up here near Black Hawk Island, where the river dumps in here to the lake itself, but haven't heard much out of that area. Still hearing about some white bass up to the Jefferson Dam and in the Rock River between Fort and Jefferson, up to Beaver Dam Lake. I've heard about. I haven't heard much about the walleye doing any. If that bite's still happening up there, the crappies were doing well up there for a while. I haven't heard if they're still going, but the catfish bite is awesome up there, guys. I talked to several guys that head up that way, and it's yeah, easy to catch all the catfish you want. Really, it's one after another from what I hear. Over here to Devil's Lake, I've been hearing about some good trout action with those fish starting to suspend over the deep water like they do in the summertime. Otherwise, down to the dam, the walleye have kind of moved on. Of course, you still pick up bonus walleye here, but nice mixed bag that you always find at the dams. The white bass have been biting really well out there. I've been hearing about some great white bass action at the dam and downstream, past Sauk City and up and down the river, really. Up here to Lake Wisconsin, been hearing about actually some great fishing up there lately. It had been quiet from what I'd heard, but I've heard a few reports now in the last week or so of folks getting into some good walleye action, good crappie action near Wood, bluegills up here at Wayland's Grade and the Fingers. Seems like a lot of the walleye action I hear usually it seems like it's more up here where the river comes in. A lot of the action I'm hearing about now is down here where it kind of tightens up past Merrimack, but also tons of sheepshead out there too. So if you like sheepshead, I guess there's plenty of them in there. But the walleye bite up there sounds like it's been pretty good. Haven't heard much out of the Portage and the Dells, Castle Rock Lake, below the Castle Rock Dam. Great mixed bag up there. Just about anything that swims in the river you'll find below both the Castle Rock and Petenwell dams. I haven't heard a ton, or really anything out of Castle Rock Lake. Petenwell, though, I've been hearing about some good white bass and walleye action up shallow. Most of that action happening in 15 feet of water or less, kind of near breaks, which is in a lot of places the way that channel kind of moves through here. But yeah, some good action up there. And like I said, below the dam, too, has been real good for folks. Over here to the Ole Miss, we got the water's still high over there, but it's fishable now. And I've heard walleye on current seams and some good bluegill action in some of the flooded timber out there. Oh, and some crappies near shore. But yeah, it's good to see that the river's kind of back down to a more fishable level. Over here to Milwaukee and, up and down the whole East Coast, not going to be a lot to report for a while from shore anyway. The coho have moved on now out to deeper water. That system's warming up out there. All the tribs should be holding smallmouth. I know the Milwaukee River, a real success story as far as conservation and improving that waterway. It's really turned into a great smallmouth fishery. So if you've never checked it out, I'd encourage that. Up to Green Bay, of course, the walleye bite up there is great. Good muskie bite. I don't know what the white bass are doing over here to Oshkosh, but that action, if it's not winded down, should be winding down pretty quick here.